This country is called the heart of Eurasia. It has brought together the culture and traditions of more than 100 nations. Today, Kazakhstan is a dynamically developing young state. The interests of major international organizations are concentrated precisely here. They adapt world practices and introduce global initiatives. Such large-scale cooperation has already shown the results. You'll find more on this in Kazakhstan International Vectors.
170 million people, an immense market and great opportunities. Joining into the customs union, three countries, Kazakhstan, Russia and Belarus, managed to minimize the promotion costs of their goods. The competition between manufacturers has grown, which means that only the best of them have left on the market. The increase in the volume of mutual trade, simplified customs procedures and preferences for citizens. New perspectives opened before the member countries of the customs union in 2010. A customs union is the agreement between two or several states on creation of the single customs territory. The countries agree about the abolishment or simplification of import duties. At the same time, the common external tariff is set for other states. Duties which prevent trade between the countries are eliminated or unified within the framework of the free trade zone. The customs union in the next stage, which supposes the abolishment of all customs duties, so there are no more duties, boundaries or other obstacles except several customs points. The legislations are unified in the proper direction. Presently, 12 customs unions function in different parts of the world. One of the oldest is the South African Customs Union, founded in 1910. The Cooperation Council for the Arab States of the Gulf also demonstrates dynamic development. However, the EU Customs Union is characterized by historians as the most successful example. Along with 27 European Union countries, it also includes Turkey, Andorra, Monaco and San Marino. Here we have several examples. One of them is the European Union. It is one of non-economic union. Meanwhile, NAFTA, represented by North American countries, don't have a form of economic union. There are also a number of different economic agreements with the participation of such progressive countries as China or Malaysia. There was no negative experience, at least by now. Anyhow, it gives a certain impetus to ambitions and external trade expansion. Certain niches are occupied and goods are promoted. The promotion of these product lines is much more effective within such serious enclaves like this. The history of the creation of customs unions indicates that joining them is profitable by far not for all states. Everything here depends on favorable factors, such as the availability of natural resources, international cooperation experience, traditions and many other things. The European Union demonstrates that far from all the countries become successful after joining it. That is to say, their cooperation was effective under the customs union, but after the introduction of the single currency, only such countries as Germany and France played the role of the engine. Meanwhile, many countries became less successful. Huge queues, whole day of waiting on the boundary and, as a result, breaching the delivery schedule. Each long-distance truck driver knows these problems firsthand. Nevertheless, they have never appeared for the last several years, says Andrei Volnych with genuine pleasure. Everything is owing to the new rules of customs control within the framework of the customs union. Now it has become undoubtedly easier. Earlier, when I approached a border post in the morning, I could pass it only in the evening time. Border control from both sides took a lot of time, but currently I spend on it 15 minutes as much. I even fixed the time. There are no difficulties even during passport control. The customs union of Kazakhstan, Russia and Belarus was established in 2010. During its period of work, the mutual trade volume between its member states increased by more than one-third. In the first 6 months of 2014, the external trade volume of Kazakhstan with Russia and Belarus exceeded $7 billion. Andrei Volnych has been transporting goods for 8 years, 4 years of them to the customs union countries. He says that such associations should be expanding because along with new workplaces, it will positively affect the transport sector.
с расширением таможенного союза
The expansion of the customs union will facilitate business development, growing of logistic companies and firms.
компаний.
During 4 years of functioning, the customs union of 3 countries changed the economic map of its member states in a quite significant way. The single customs territory, new duties and restrictions, stricter requirements to production processes, certification and more than 40 signed and ratified international agreements. Each of the countries has defended its interests as much as possible.
Поэтому таможенный союз в этом контексте.
The customs union in this context is of a great importance for Kazakhstan because we would like to have the same railway transportation rates as in Russia. For example, it is very important for Kazakhstani metal manufacturers. We would also like to use Russian seaports as much as possible.
Использовать российские порты в максимальном масштабе.
The union of 3 countries never meant the complete elimination of all mutual trade restrictions, experts say. The so-called non-tariff regulations are sometimes toughened by sanitary and quarantine requirements. Nevertheless, Kazakhstan is becoming attractive for new players.
Российский бизнес.
Russian business began assimilating in Kazakhstan because taxes here are much lower than in Russia and Belarus. Therefore, starting and developing business in Kazakhstan for Russian and Belarusian entrepreneurs has become much more profitable. Big international investors also paid their attention to the Eurasian Union countries. The large market and prospects of developing production facilities allowed opening in Kazakhstan new enterprises. There is an example with the automobile industry. The development of these plants was hardly possible without the customs union. Nowadays, they are trying to get an access to the territory of Russia in order to sell there our products. In this case, we are talking only about the complete knockdown assembly. Nevertheless, some progress has been made. The advantage is, as we see, that it influences the price policy in our country. However, sometimes it cannot be called as the advantage. It is clear that large Russian companies have a greater influence. According to experts, the customs union regulations allowed to increase the production of automobiles in Kazakhstan fourfold. More than 26,000 vehicles were manufactured during 9 months of this year, and by 2017 the production volume of the local car industry is expected to exceed 300,000 cars annually. Raising the competitiveness among manufacturers is another advantage of the customs union, experts say. It is because nowadays the fight for customers' recognition is going by far not only among local producers.
Наши предприятия закаляются.
Talking about the advantages, it should be first of all noted that our enterprises are getting stronger while competing within the framework of the customs union. In future, we are going to join the World Trade Organization, where the market is even more competitive. And perhaps we had to do all that because 20 years ago we lived in quite a favorable environment, unlike Russia, for instance.
Не такое тяжелое, как в России.
The customs union is advantageous for all the 3 states due to their historical links as well as their territorial and cultural proximity, experts say. Like other unions, this one has its own advantages and drawbacks, but the main thing is the economic effectiveness.
В условиях кризиса.
Despite the crisis and other difficulties, we should never forget that in 1999 the oil export quota from Kazakhstan to Russia was 3.5 million tons. Now we export 70 million tons of our oil through the territory of Russian Federation. Probably because of that, it has become easier for people to visit each other, and businessmen from these countries have fewer problems in realizing their projects. The successor of the customs union will be the Eurasian Economic Union. The agreement on its creation has been signed this May in Astana city by the presidents of Kazakhstan, Russia and Belarus. The document presupposes the transfer to the single economic space, unification of power markets, including oil and gas, financial systems, including banks and insurance companies, as well as common transport corridors. Still, to make all these plans come true, their initiators have a lot of things to do in regulation of their economies.